Hezbollah has accused Israel of detonating hundreds of pagers across Lebanon that killed 10 people and wounded over 3,000 others, including Iran's envoy to Beirut. There has been no immediate comment from the Israeli military on the wave of explosions. Taiwanese company Gold Apollo has denied a report that it produced hundreds of explosive-packed pagers used by Hezbollah members, which simultaneously exploded in Lebanon on Tuesday. According to reports, about 3,000 pagers were ordered from Gold Apollo, mostly its AR-924 model. The company said in a statement that the AR-924 model is produced and sold by a company called BAC and had no involvement in the design or manufacturing of this product. Former US President Donald Trump said he plans to meet next week with Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi, who will be visiting the United States for several official events. During a campaign event in Michigan, Trump slammed India's trade practices but hailed Prime Minister Modi. Russian President Vladimir Putin has signed a decree to increase the number of Russian armed forces from 2.2 million to 2.38 million, including 1.5 million military personnel. The new decree, published on the official website for legal information, will take effect from the 1st of December this year. It will increase the total number of Russian military personnel and staff by 180,000. The last time the staffing level was increased was in December last year. Venezuela's government has announced the arrest of a fourth US citizen in connection with an alleged plot to kill President Nicolas Maduro. Venezuelan authorities claim the CIA, Spain's intelligence agency, organized crime groups, sex workers and members of the opposition were involved in the plot. Last week, the Interior Minister claimed 3 Americans, 2 Spaniards and a Czech citizen were arrested in connection with the alleged plan to assassinate Maduro. A march led by former President Evo Morales escalated into clashes after a group of opponents attempted to block the road during the days-long journey bound for the capital La Paz. Morales launched the march to protest against President Luis Arce's government, citing economic stagnation as the main grievance. Tensions between Morales and Arce have been rising since late 2021. It has been fueled by differing approaches to state governance and a push for fresh leadership within the party. In a latest display of military might, North Korea fired multiple short-range ballistic missiles towards its east coast. South Korea and Japan said in the second such test in a week. This comes days after North Korea unveiled a uranium enrichment facility and vowed to bolster its nuclear arsenal. South Korea's Joint Chiefs of Staff said the missiles lifted off from Kaechon, north of the capital Pyongyang, at around 6:50 a.m. local time in the northeast direction, while Japan's Coast Guard said that about 30 minutes after its first missile, North Korea fired another ballistic missile. In the first of its kind in Australia, the police have charged a man with creating and managing a messaging app used by global organised crime networks. Police conducted raids over 2 days in 4 Australian states and territories this month, with related searches also taking place in Ireland, Italy, Sweden and Canada. According to the police, up to 50 alleged Australian offenders accused of using ghosts are also facing charges, including significant prison sentences, with more arrests in Australia and overseas likely in the next few days. In northeast China's Liaoning province, a bell-ringing ceremony was held to mark the 93rd anniversary of the September 18th incident in front of a monument at the Museum of Shenyang City. It was on this day in 1931 when Japanese troops blew up a section of the railway near Shenyang under their control and accused Chinese troops of sabotage as a pretext for subsequent aggression against China. Representatives of people from all walks of life struck the bell 14 times, symbolizing the 14 years of fight against the Japanese aggressors. SpaceX has successfully launched its Falcon 9 rocket carrying the European Commission's Galileo L-13 mission from Cape Canaveral Space Force Station in Florida. According to SpaceX, this marks the 22nd flight for this Falcon 9 first stage booster. The Galileo satellites, part of the mission, are managed and operated by the European Union Agency for the Space Program on behalf of the EU.
Two stages are following different trajectories. As the first stage prepares for its landing attempt on our drone ship, just read as the booster continues to make its way to our drone ship.
Stage 1 landing confirmed.
And confirmation of first stage landing. Confirmation of nominal orbital insertion by our side.
A small airplane landed safely at Logan International Airport in Boston despite having just one of its landing wheels deployed. According to the airport authorities, the plane had taken off from Logan and returned after suffering a landing gear issue. The Cape Air Cessna 402 had 2 passengers and 1 crew member, and there were no injuries reported. An Al-Qaeda-linked jihadist group has claimed responsibility for a deadly attack on a military training camp in Mali's capital, Bamako. The attack saw them temporarily take control of part of the international airport. The country's general staff said that the attack killed a number of military personnel but did not give a detailed toll. It confirmed that a training center and the city's airport were targeted. Voting is underway in the 3-phased election for choosing a local government in Jammu and Kashmir. Voting is being held in 24 constituencies across 7 districts in the first phase of polls. These are first assembly elections in 10 years and the first such vote since Prime Minister Narendra Modi's government stripped Jammu and Kashmir of its special status 5 years ago. Ecuador's military has begun supporting operations at a major dam following the government's decision to implement a series of 8-hour nightly power cuts across the Andean country next week amid a severe drought which has caused water levels to plunge, affecting hydroelectric plants. Ecuador's government says power cuts will begin on the 23rd of September. The Defense Ministry said that about 50 soldiers with technical knowledge will be trained to operate the country's hydroelectric system. The worst drought on record has lowered the water level of the rivers in the Amazon Basin to historic lows, in some cases drying up riverbeds that were navigable waterways. The Solomos, one of the main tributaries of the mighty Amazon River, whose waters from the Peruvian Andes has fallen to its lowest ever level in Tabatinga, the Brazilian town on the border with Colombia. Downriver in Tef, a branch of the Solomos, has dried up completely. US retail sales unexpectedly rose in August as a decline in receipts at auto dealerships was more than enough to offset by strength in online purchases. The data suggests that the economy remained on solid footing through much of the third quarter. The report also showed retail sales were a bit stronger than initially thought in July. It combined with the decline in the unemployment rate last month to push against financial market expectations for a 0.5 percentage point in interest rate cut from the Federal Reserve. Japan's export growth slowed sharply in August as shipments to the US dropped for the first time in 3 years. Machinery orders unexpectedly shrank in July in a worrying sign for an economy struggling to mount a solid recovery. The frail external demand undermines Japan's quest to drive sustainable economic growth. The trend is worrying, especially given a growing risk of a slowdown in the US and further weakness in China's economy. A rise in personal consumption helped Japan's economy rebound strongly in the second quarter, but the growth was revised down slightly last week. The Biden administration will seek up to 6 million barrels of oil for the Strategic Petroleum Reserve, according to a report by Reuters. The purchase, if completed, will match its largest yet in the replenishment of the stash after a historic sale in 2022. The administration will announce the solicitation as soon as Wednesday to buy oil for delivery. The US will buy the oil from energy companies for delivery in the first few months of 2025. The Department of Energy has taken advantage of relatively low crude prices that are below the target price of $80 per barrel, at which it wants to buy back oil after the 2022 sale of 180 million barrels over 6 months. Going forward, Instagram will automatically designate users under 18 as teen accounts. This means accounts of teenagers, both new and existing, will now be private. Instagram will also restrict the kind of content that young users view on Instagram. Under the new teen accounts setting, users will have more restrictive settings, such as who can message them, who can comment on their posts, and what kind of sensitive content is recommended in Reels and on the Explore page. Moreover, the teen account will also send alerts reminding teens to take breaks from the app. It will also include a sleep mode that will silence notifications from 10 p.m. to 7 a.m. As per a report by Dr. Webb, a France-based cybersecurity company, hackers have infected over 1.3 million Android-based TV boxes across 197 countries. The malware known as Android.void acts as a backdoor, allowing threat actors to secretly download and install unwanted software on your device, leaving it vulnerable to various threats. The largest number of infections have been detected in Brazil, Morocco, Pakistan, Saudi Arabia, Russia, Malaysia and Algeria. The malware takes advantage of TVs with outdated Android versions which are no longer supported with security updates. Guy's Hospital, a South London-based hospital, is testing sending blood samples by drone. The trial will be the first for UK. Urgent blood samples taken from patients will be sent for testing by drone to avoid London traffic. The 6-month trial, set to begin in the coming weeks, will cut transport time of over 30 minutes to less than 2 minutes. The trial would pave the way for the wider use of drone delivery by hospitals in London. According to new research by Insurance Institute for Highway Safety, people who drive vehicles with partial automation systems are more likely to engage in non-driving activities such as checking their phones or eating while driving. The safety group conducted month-long studies with Tesla's Autopilot and Volvo's Pilot Assist to examine driver behavior when the technology was in use and how drivers' behavior evolved with time. With major automakers in a race to deploy autonomous driving technology, the research indicates the need for better safeguards to ensure attentive driving.